I'm so bored. Hey, mysterious albums. What's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite mysterious albums. And today I'm going to do a mini albums review or mini album reviews, where I review 5 albums from this year, and I'm gonna talk about them. I'm gonna review them, and it's going to be a long video, so sit tight. So yes, I spent like 1.5 hours just writing the scripts for this album, and my hard work will pay off. Okay. So first off, we have Rae Jepsen's new album. It's shaking. So first off, we have Rae Jepsen's new album, Dedicated. Dedicated Wham for a server. So Rae Jepsen, if you don't know her, she is an incredibly popular pop star from Vancouver, Canada, and she had been dropping hits after hits ever since Call Me Maybe, which is one of my childhood favorites. And then she also released I really, 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 really like you, and also Emotions, which is probably my favorite Rae Jepsen track. And then now she dropped Dedicated, which sounds like a sequel to Emotions, which is basically her last album. She didn't really go on any new directions on this album. She kind of stayed the same, and a few cuts on this album do feel a little generic and a little too gentrified, but still, there are some really, really catchy and fun and sweet songs on this album as well. So we have the title, not the title track, the first track, Julien, and it's easily the best song on the album. I really love the pulsating synths. I really love the shimmery bridge. I love the steady grooves with the clicky clacky beats, and overall it's such an awesome feel good jam. The second track is No Drug Like Me, and it is also pretty addictive. It's nocturnal, it's low key, and I also really like the bassy synths. The third track is almost better than Julien. It's Now That I Found You, and it's just this really energetic and euphoric dance pop rager. And the quality of the album doesn't drop on the first half. We have the fourth track, Want You in My Room. I really like the flirty lyrics and the production. While it's more spacey and hollow, I also really like the bodily beat and the very youthful 90s throwback vibe that I really like. And the track Everything He Needs is about the sexual tension between her and possibly another person who she has a crush on, perhaps. And the hook is really, really cute. The grooves are very sexy and sensual. The synths are very bright, and I also really like the pianos, which are really sweet, and it makes up for a very solid and catchy tune. The next track, Happy Not Knowing, may not be one of the brightest songs on the album, because it is a pretty generic and average synth pop track, but it still has a pretty nice message talking about ignorance is bliss. The next track, I'll Be Your Girl, also isn't one of the better tracks. The reggae instrumentals in the beginning do feel a little out of place, and the chorus is just very loud and overblown, like 90% of other pop songs in the USA right now, but it's still listenable. It's not bad. The track Too Much also has a pretty average gentrified reggaeton beat, and the verses and the choruses are pretty tongue-in-cheek and not in a catchy bright way, but more in a sexy way, so it's a little awkward for me. The track The Sound, while it's a pretty sweet sounding song, it's also a really slow and kind of forgettable ballad. The track Automatically in Love is also pretty uneventful and low key, and the drum beats are pretty average. However, the next track, Feels Right, is actually a pretty fun, jangly piano jam. The song Right Words, Wrong Time also has a pretty generic modern pop instrumental, and the verses are super empty, but then when it hits the chorus, it just gets super loud so that you can get, sort of this shock factor. But it just doesn't work that well. However, the song Real Love is also one of my favorites on the album because even though it's a pretty modern dance pop song that sounds kind of average, but I really like the energy that Rae Jepsen has on the track. The track is more laser focused, and the chorus is really loud and overblown with this really crazy wild brass solo, which is pretty fun. And the album ending, Party for One, is also pretty good, even though the instrumentals are pretty stereotypical, but the hooks are extremely catchy, sexy, and explosive. However, the track For Sure it's not one of the better tracks. The shouty vocals are pretty flat and bland, and it has a really annoying clap beat that's constantly happening. So, yeah, while I'm not a huge pop person, I still think this album has its very tasteful and flavorful and catchy and sweet moments, despite a few cuts on the album that feel kind of bland and generic. So yes, my favorite track here is Julien, and my least favorite is For Sure, and I'm giving Rae Jepsen's Dedicated a 7 out of 10. Up next, I would like to talk about the new DJ Khaled album, Father of Asahd. So DJ Khaled, he's a person. Yeah. This album is not really a DJ Khaled album. If you think about it, it's basically a compilation album with the words DJ Khaled slapped on top, because DJ Khaled, he's not a singer, not a rapper, not a musician, not an instrumentalist, not even a producer. He's basically a curator. He calls a bunch of rappers and artists and tells them to come over to his studio and make him a song and then come out with this album. Yeah, he doesn't really do anything. He's not really doing anything. And still, somehow, he's pissed off that Tyler, the Creator's Igor got number 1 on Billboard. He even made a video on Instagram saying that, Tyler, the Creator's album is some sort of mysterious shit, but his album is called Good Music. You go to the barbershop, they're playing his music. The car next to you are playing his own music, and it's called Good Music. And this attitude is just so unlikable. You're not even singing or rapping or producing on the album, yet you're pissed off that your album got number 2. Getting number 2 on the Billboard charts is already really great. And on the entire album, for every 3 seconds, DJ Khaled has to pop up out of nowhere yelling, DJ Khaled, we the best music. Another one, and another one. It's just straight up hideous. It's just straight up laughable. And man, the tracks on the album are awful. The first track is titled Holy Mountain, and it's by Buju Banton, Sizzla, Mavado, and 070 Shake. And at first it does sound kind of good. It sounds pretty epic with the pianos and all. But then when you listen to the entire track, it sounds like the track never really starts. Every time it tries to start, it just resets, because it sounds like 8 songs clammed together. It's a traffic jam. It's a train wreck. The next track, Wish Wish, is performed by Cardi B and 21 Savage, and it is such a generic trap rap song. After you listen to it, it's like you never listened to it. We have the track Jealous by Chris Brown, Lil Wayne, and Big Sean, and it's basically this dumbed down, lubby-dubby, slick, love pop song that you've probably heard for 10 million times. The track Just Us by SZA is basically SZA singing over the instrumentals for Outkast's Miss Jackson. it's not even like a ripoff. It's literally the same instrumentals, just a little more dumbed down. It's laughable. It's laughable. Every time I listen to the track Just Us, I'm just singing to myself. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. This is for real. The track You Stay by Meek Mill, J Balvin, and Lil Baby and Jeremy is actually pretty good in my opinion. I really like the simple bass line, and overall it's a pretty nice spacey rap song. Even though it's not great, it's still okay. One of the better tracks on the album. The track Celebrate by Travis Scott and Post Malone is another generic ass trap rap song. Okay? They're paid to be on the song, and both of them completely phoned it in. And Travis' hook is just so bad. And I can't blame Travis because he's probably paid to do this anyway, so he just phoned in. The track Higher by Nipsey Hussle and John Legend is easily the best song on the entire album. It's the one that shines out the most. It's so soulful, glorious, and powerful. Nipsey Hussle's performance and his singing is fantastic. John Legend's singing is also really powerful. I love the grand pianos. It's so heartfelt. But that's it. This is the only song on the track list that feels like it's completely different than any other track here. The next track, Won't Take My Soul by Nas and CeeLo, feels really spacey and it devoids of anything interesting despite still being listenable. The track Weather the Storm is almost like a continuation of Won't Take My Soul. It's by Meek Mill and Lil Baby, and they have zero chemistry despite Meek Mill's kind of good performance. And the beat, it tries to be epic and it's just not good at all. The track Big Boy Talk is by Jeezy and Rick Ross, and it's not a bad rap song at all. It's a pretty nice bling rap throwback song, but it's still very short and ill-conceived. The track Freak and You is completely pointless and redundant. We have Lil Wayne and Gunna together, and they, again, have zero chemistry. The track Top Off is actually one of the better cuts here. It's by Jay-Z, Beyonce, and Future, and it's like DJ Khaled already made a track called Top Off, but now it's his second try because on his first try, Future's verses suck so much. But yeah, I still kind of like the tasteful beat on the track. It's still pretty nice. And the next track, No Brainer, might be my least favorite. It's by Justin Bieber, Chance the Rapper, and Quavo. Again, it's DJ Khaled's second try to make a song sound like this. And on his first try, it has Lil Wayne, and this time it doesn't have Lil Wayne. And this track, it's pretty self-explanatory. It doesn't have a brain. It's this super watered down, dumbed down, idiotic, dumb, dancey, yay, party track. And then we have Thank You by Big Sean. I kind of like the spacey vibe of the track, but it's still nothing. The track still sounds like nothing. And then the album just ends off with Holy Ground by Buju Banton, and it's such an uneventful, low-key ending with some Jamaican reggae, and the album overall is just awful. It's awful, awful, awful. I am feeling a 3 to a 4 on this thing. Maybe a 3, maybe a strong 3. My favorite track is Higher, and my least favorite is No Brainer. Don't worry though, because there is one great album that I would like to talk about in this review, and that is Slowthai's new album, Nothing Great About Britain. And it is a grime rap album. Slowthai, up and coming artist. He's featured in the latest Flume mixtape, also featured in the latest Tyler the Creator album. Both of these albums are fantastic, and so is this album. So Slowthai is on a win streak. Kind of sad that the UK is going through all these socio-political turmoil at this moment, and there is no better time to release this album than right now. The album is indeed a fantastic grime rap album, relying heavily on these really really tense drum beats that are being looped over and over again. The instrumentals are really ragged and filthy and nasty, but yet it doesn't feel redundant at all because the performances are just so energetic and just punching, gut punching. We have the title track, which has a really odd groove. The beat is kind of choppy, but the way it complements the very gloomy cinematic instrumentals, the pianos and the strings, they go together really well. And overall, it's the track where Slowthai just rants on, and it's full of anger, full of hatred, and it feels like the dystopia is happening right now. The second track, Doorman, is a straight up banger. It's really awesome. It's basically Slowthai rapping over this super filthy, fast, and nasty post-punk beat, and it's super energetic, super fun, and it features Mura Masa, who's also featured on the latest Anderson .Paak album. More like he's featured on Anderson .Paak's album last year, but yeah, his performance is pretty versatile and amazing as well. The next track, Dead Leaves, I think the track lacks focus, and it's a pretty scant, weak song. The weird Arabic-tinged instrumentals do feel a little out of place, but it's still not that terrible of a track. The track Gorgeous has some nice, laid-back, glamorous piano loops, and Slowthai's flow on this track is pretty nice, but overall, it's just an okay track. The outro is a little too long, a little too dragged, maybe. The track Crack is a twisted and lovesick song about distrust and lies. Lyrically speaking, it's a great song. However, the beat is a little too low-key and faint for me. But the rest of the album are fantastic, straight up. The track Grow Up features JK, and it's a really, really nice banger with the disjointed trap beat. And the next track, Inglorious, featuring Skepta, is an even more hard-hitting banger. It's really sinister, but also very catchy. I love the devilish beats mixed with the church organs. And even though the chorus is a little minimalistic, it's still a really fun song. Phenomenal. Abdominal. The track Toaster is also pretty amazing with the laid-back guitars and the great flow and nasty beats. And the track Peace of Mind is really tense and really gloomy. And Slowthai talks about his rocky family history and how he only gains this peace of mind when he's sleeping or when he's pretending to be somebody else. So yeah, it's pretty painful. It's a pretty painful lyrical topic. And we have the track Missing, which is more Halloween tinged, and it's super intense, super unsettling, and freaky, and also fun. The vocal melodies are actually super catchy here, and overall it's one of the more flavorful highlights on the album. And the album ends off with Northampton's Child, which is basically an autobiographical track where Slowthai talks about how he came to be. Teenage pregnancy, poor family, drug abuse, and his younger brother's passing. And it's a really sad song, but also really emotionally potent and a great way to conclude the album. So yeah, overall, I think Slowthai is incredibly talented. His personality shines through a lot of the tracks on the album, and the beats, the instrumentals, they are really tasteful and full of texture, and I love it. I'm giving this album an 8 out of 10. My favorite track here being Doorman, and least favorite being Dead Leaves. The fourth album that I'm going to be talking about is Vampire Weekend's comeback album, Father of the Bride. So, Vampire Weekend is a very famous indie pop band. They had been dropping some really, really important indie pop records of this generation, like Contra and Modern Vampires of the City, and now they're finally back with their longest album yet. And truth be told, this album feels a little loose. There are some tracks that feel really badly mixed, but overall I'm actually kind of satisfied with the album because there are also a lot of great tracks here and there. The album opener Hold You Now features Daniel Haim, and the vocalist Ezra and Daniel Haim appears together in a few tracks on the album, and it has this continuous theme of having a relationship, of this marriage, and it's actually pretty nice, even though it's a little scant and a little over the place. And the opener, it's a nice lo-fi starter to the album, even though it has a pretty weird ending. The next track, Harmony Hall, is one of the best singles of the year so far. It is fantastic. The pianos are glamorous. I love how jangly and jivey the grooves are. It's super catchy and sunny, and it's such an amazing feel-good jam. I don't want to live like this, but I don't want to die. It's just so catchy. I can't stop myself from singing along to this song every time the song comes on. The next track is Bambina, and it's actually a really nice, low-key, cute, sweet song that somehow reminds me of the ballads by Arcade Fire a little bit, and I also really like the fuzzy guitars, which are a little boogie as well. The next track, This Life, is a really flavorful indie pop song that has a very heavy Paul Simon vibe, and it's a really tropical, fun song. The track Big Blue, while it's not one of the better songs on the album, I still like it for its very nice drunken vibe that has a tropical edge to it. The track How Long is also not one of the best songs here. At first, it does sound pretty nice with the faint, charismatic guitar bass line. But then again, the song overall is not really that eventful and not really that flavorful, and the zany sound effects do not help at all. In fact, they do kind of distract the listeners from actually enjoying the melody of the song. The track Unbearably White has a really drunken and relaxing instrumentals, which isn't bad, but it's still not one of the brightest songs on the album. It sounds like chilling in a nice resort in the edge of the world, or in some nice tropical country, but it's still not one of the nicest tracks on the album. The track Rich Man is also pretty uninteresting and dry in my opinion. The instrumental tries to be quirky, but it feels forced, and the guitars are really reverby and it feels out of place. And the next track, Married in a Gold Rush, also features Danielle Haim, and whenever Danielle Haim comes on, the track is in general pretty good. The start is pretty choppy and experimental. However, the chemistry between Ezra and Danielle really glued the song together. The track My Mistake is a pretty boring and drab, sad piano jam that is not that good. However, the next track, Sympathy, totally just blew my mind. It's not an absolutely great track, but it's really hard-hitting and loud and fun and intense, and I actually had a lot of fun listening to the track. It's this really wild and crazy Spanish flamenco rock song with the very fast hand claps and the Spanish guitar crisps. It's really awesome, and the ending is basically some really bustly, pummeling, heavy drums, and it's really amazing, not gonna lie. However, the next two tracks, they are downers. Both of the next two tracks, Sunflower and Flower Moon, feature Steve Lacy, and both of these tracks are pretty uneventful. Sunflower is really funky, but also really tight. To a point, it's kind of dry and uneventful, and it's like Steve Lacy and Ezra's vocals are stuck together, and every time they try to sing, they're just stuck together. Similarly, on the track Flower Moon, the vocals are pretty robotic, the horns are really weird and out of place, the drums are also kind of drab. The next track, 2021, is pretty nice and smooth, I guess. The vocals are a little choppy, so it has a little style in it. And the next track, We Belong Together, also features Danielle Haim. Again, good chemistry, solid tune, and it has a really nice washed up vibe to the instrumentals. The next track, Stranger, is also a Danielle Ezra track. It's about a relationship, and I like the rich pianos and the funky horns. However, the next track, Spring Snow, is an absolute train wreck. It's this super drab and head-scratching auto-tune track that has no flavor whatsoever. And then we have the album ending Jerusalem, New York, and Berlin. And it's a pretty nice, okay, sad ending to the track. It's a pretty solid tune, but it's still not that great or anything. So yeah, overall, the album has its bright moments, but also has its low moments. Its drab and weird moments. And I think the album is too long. They could have just cut off the weird songs and just put all the best ones together, and it would have been way better. But no, they have to stretch the duration of the album. And then up next we have Mac DeMarco with Here Comes the Cowboy. So, Canadian indie folk singer-songwriter Mac DeMarco, he's back. And for the past few years, while his albums are not great, it's pretty obvious that his music is getting better and better, slowly but surely. And then all of a sudden, he broke off with his record label and he dropped this album. And it's his worst album yet. I hate to say this, but it's his worst album yet. It's his most exhausted and uninteresting and drab album yet. It sounds like he's taking the piss. He's not even serious. It sounds like he's phoning it in. It sounds like he wants to release something, but he kind of didn't have any ideas, so he just came out with 3 songs and then repeated them over and over and over again until he gets an entire album worth of music. So disappointing. The album starts off with the title track, and it sounds so drunk, so minimal, and so aimless. It has some faux country guitar licks that are just being looped over and over and over again without any dynamic. And on the entire track, for 4 minutes, Mac DeMarco just says, "Here comes the cowboy." And it's so redundant. And the music video is so unfitting. And then we have the track Nobody, which is actually one of the better tracks on the album. It's a pretty beautiful and simplistic ballad with some nice subtle lyrics. And overall, the song is sad and cute despite being so minimal. So yes, while on the entire album, all the songs are super simplistic and minimal and almost mindless, but some songs here and there do have this nice, sad, cute, nostalgic vibe that really saves the fact that it's minimalistic and simplistic. However, a majority of the songs on this album is bland, and that's it. There's nothing sad or flavorful to it. The next track, Finally Alone, is also one of the better tracks, I think. It's a pretty nice, jazzy, and relaxing track, even though Mac DeMarco croons and sings in a very awkward way at a few points, but they are still overshadowed by the very nice, relaxing instrumentals. Yeah, what else is good on the album? I think the track Heart to Heart is a really romantic and cute song. Again, pretty small, pretty minimalistic, but also pretty nostalgic. I really like the foggy, rainy vibe of the song. It's like it's raining and it's really cloudy right now, but you're hiding indoors with air conditioning, and it's really comfortable. And I really like the bass line on the track. The track On the Square is maybe my favorite track. It grew a lot on me. It sounds like you're in the middle of a city and it's cloudy, it's raining, but it's also super nostalgic and downtrodden and super flavorful. The keys are super icy and the piano lines are kind of sad and kind of dejected. And the instrumentals, they sound like they're slowly melting. And it's pretty beautiful. Pretty, not gonna lie. However, the rest of the album simply suck ass. We have Little Dog's March, which is like Finally Alone with the really awkward croons and shouts. But yeah, it doesn't have the sad guitars anymore. It's just slow, drunken guitars and drums. And it's so slow that one bar in an 8/8 time signature takes up 10 seconds. It's that slow. And we have the track Preoccupied, which is, it has some nice lazy acoustic guitars and some bird twitting in the back, which makes the track sound more organic, but it's still a very bland and uninteresting track, so flat. We have the track Choo Choo, which is just straight up laughable. It's, at this point, I'm already thinking that Mac DeMarco is basically taking the piss, because the track Choo Choo sounds like a really, really bad Gorillaz ripoff with this really absurd chickadee rickety bass line, and Mac DeMarco singing choo choo, chugga 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 choo choo for the entire track. We have the track K, which is basically a very boring midnight ballad song, and it's such an empty track. The track Hey Cowgirl is pretty much similar to the title track, but the guitars are even more sunburnt and pointless. We have the track All of Our Yesterdays, which sounds kind of okay, but then again, it still sounds very bland, and the reverby guitars do not help at all. We have the track Skyless Moon, and it's just straight up laughable. It's so hideous. Of course, we get some awkward croonings from Mac DeMarco, and then it's paired with these sour guitar lines, and it's like this really weird Radiohead ripoff track, except Mac DeMarco is singing in a really weird way. And then we have the next track, Bye Bye, Baby Bye Bye, and it's 7.5 minutes long. Is it necessary? And for the entire 7.5 minutes, only the first 3 minutes is basically music, and the final 4.5 minutes is basically nothing but the choo choo instrumentals. It's so faint, it's so pointless, and it's like Mac DeMarco doesn't even care anymore. It's like he wanted more album time, but he didn't have any ideas, so he just, there you go. It's a filler track. There you go. So yeah, this is an incredibly underwhelming album, and I'm feeling a 3 to a 4 out of 10 on the album. My favorite track is On the Square, and my least favorite is the title track, but also Choo Choo, but also Skyless Moon. So what are your thoughts on these albums? From 1 to 10, how much did you rate them? Like if you like them, hate if you hate them, and subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.